Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Pasterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up? Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, game day edition. The Jets continue their epic road trip tonight in Sin City. And, of course, we're normally used to having games in Vegas start at 9 or 9:30, but with it being Black Friday down south of the border, it's a 5:30 start in Vegas, which means 7:30 puck drop here in the Peg. We're going to be all over it. Mike McIntyre will join us from Las Vegas to set this one up as he continues his epic roadie along with the Jets. And we'll also bring in the lawman. And listen, we'll talk Vegas Jets as well. I do want to get his take on the upcoming Four Nations and potential participation from Knights players and Winnipeg Jets players. And I have a feeling we'll probably get into a little bit of CFL talk because while Gary is still well south of the border, you know that he's still locked in on the Bombers in the Canadian Football League. And I think it'll be a very, very fun segment when Gary joins us a little later on. Big day yesterday in the NFL, which we'll touch on right off the top. Some news today out of the Windy City. Not truly that surprising. And we've got a game this afternoon. My Chiefs and the Raiders are going to kick off at 2, so we'll pay attention to that. And Lee Hacksaw Hamilton will join us at the bottom of hour 2. And then we will get into the marble race. And I let me just warn all of you who maybe are used to us doing the marbles at 3:05 or 3:10. We're going to try and keep it tight today, folks, because I do want to get to this football game at a normal time. So make sure you're here when Hacksaw is with us. We will open up the marbles and we'll try and get to it before 3 p.m. today and get the podcast up so people can listen to the show before they drop the puck in Vegas. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen. Of course, Princess Auto, and congratulations to one of their new ventures, Bell's Kitchen and Music Hall opened yesterday. It is officially open. Check it out this weekend if you're into delicious barbecue, great drinks, live music. 1212 Nairn. Brand new massive neon sign. You can't miss it. So check that out this weekend. Also want to thank Coolbet. Just had fun with Dusty and Jake, making our best bets for the weekend. I hope my best bets were better than my bets for yesterday, which was a disaster. But we move on to today, Chiefs, and then a big NFL Sunday. Also want to thank Rolly's Transfer, Manitoba Battery, fansfirst.ca, the Winnipeg Jets, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, and, of course, our friends at Little Brown Jug. Let's get this show going and bring Michael Remis in here. Remo, what's up?
Hey, feeling good here. Black Friday. We had NFL yesterday, entertaining games if they weren't the closest. Some good storylines. And we got afternoon NHL hockey, got Flyers, Rangers on, and Jets tonight. Nice 7:30 start. Don't have to stay up late. And really excited to have Gary Lawless back on the program. Good show today. I'm pumped.
Just looking here, what do we've got? We've got a 14-game slate in the NHL. And yeah, you mentioned there's 2 games underway right now. Philly's up 2-0 on the Rangers. 0-0 Blackhawks and Wild. Go Hawks. 2 o'clock starts for the Canucks and Sabres. 2 o'clock start for the Panthers and Hurricanes. 2 o'clock start Flames and Blue Jackets. Same thing for the Devils and Red Wings. Wow, Predators Lightning. Capitals Islanders. 2:30 for the Kings and Ducks. 2:30 for the Kraken and the Sharks. And then only a few later games. Pittsburgh and Boston at 5:30. Jets, Vegas at 5:30. Big Central Division matchup at 8 tonight. Dallas hosting the Avalanche. And then the Edmonton Oilers, who haven't played in seemingly a week, and the Utah Hockey Club, the only 2 teams that weren't in action on Wednesday, will finish things up at 8 p.m. So a big slate of games. Listen, we're going to get to the Jets in a minute. Let's quickly get to yesterday from the National Football Remis, because the NFL. I still cannot get over how badly the end of that Chicago game was butchered by both Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams. I know that Eberflus is taking all the heat, and breaking news, he just got fired. Although in a bizarre turn of events, they had him in the building, they had him meet the media, did all his business, talked about it, and then got fired after the press conference. So that was weird. But as bad as the coaching decisions were, that was also on the quarterback. I mean, there was 32 seconds when he got sacked. I don't care if you're a high school quarterback, if you're a college quarterback, or you're in the National Football League, you need to have better awareness of the clock. And for them to let that go down 25 seconds before snapping the football with 7 seconds left and taking a play, throwing deep that took 7 seconds was kind of inexcusable. Someone was going to pay the price. But the crazy thing, Remo, is this firing in Chicago, the first one, it hasn't happened in 100 years. The Bears making a move midseason, and it's not going to save their season, but they need to move on. They've got a quarterback for, listen, as much as I was giving Caleb Williams the heat for the way he handled that final play, deservedly so, he was awesome in the second half, and there's a lot of potential there, but it seems like terrible decisions by the coach and other players have led to a season that started off at 4-2, now at 4-8.
It's one of the rare times where you watch a play and you're like, oh yeah, that's a fireable offense, leaving the game. And, you know, they let him, he did the post-game press conference yesterday and said that he wouldn't have changed anything. I forget what the exact line was, but didn't really take any responsibility for the big snafu there. And then they made him do a press conference today where he said, you know, maybe we could have done it differently. And then he was fired an hour later. So very strange. And yeah, Caleb Williams, I think he was trying to change the play call with 13 seconds left. Just call the timeout. You have one. I don't know what they were saving it for. And that's why a guy doesn't have a job anymore.
I mean, what they were, listen, I get it. And listen, this was a comedy of errors that went back 2 plays because they were like in and around the 20-yard line. They were comfortably in field goal range. And again, they'd come back already. They were down 3. The Lions were on the verge of an epic blown lead and a borderline choke job. They take a penalty that moves them back 12 yards. And then on the 2nd and 22, took a sack, which actually took them about 4 yards out of field goal range. So they did need to get some yards on that play. At 32 seconds left in the game, you have plenty of time to run a play and call your timeout. Unfortunately, what happened was they took so much time. I thought Luke Wilson, who's such a great addition to the TSN team, did an unbelievable job of breaking this down last night on SportsCenter. And if you missed it, he said every single team in the National Football League will practice what's called the Mayday field goal. And when that call is Mayday, Mayday, field goal team runs out, anyone that's not on the field goal team runs off, assuming that the clock is running and you have no timeouts, the comfortable amount of time to execute that and get the ball snapped is 17 seconds. So with 32 seconds left, they had plenty of time to do that. If they wanted to just call the timeout, you run a play that's less than 15 seconds, and even if the guy is tackled inbounds, you can bring the field goal team out. You should be able to execute that. I do understand that with the amount of time, they thought that they could get a play off, and if he was tackled inbounds, you then call the timeout and then roll out. And I think you'd rather have the field goal team coming out after a timeout. Like, that is the best case scenario. It's just it was butchered so much in the way that it happened. And anyways, that was one of the real highlight of the game. And obviously the big news today coming out of the NFL. The Cowboys-Giants game happened. Cowboys played. But, man, that game last night, Remo, I tweeted this out last night. And again, as someone that was at the game between Kansas City and Miami earlier this year in the playoffs, it was the coldest event I have been to in my life by a lot. And that says something coming from someone born and raised here in Winnipeg. I compared it to the Bomber-Rider game, which is what I kind of thought I was getting into when I went to Arrowhead that day. The Bomber Rider game in whatever it was, December 5th, that was like about minus 20 here in Winnipeg. We all think back, one of the coldest games that anyone ever sat through. This was on a whole nother level. So the fact that the Dolphins crumbled in that game and were never really in it, I can sort of get it. This was like 40 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, even though it was just under freezing. And they just weren't ready to play. Penalties in the first half. And the game was basically over before it started. I will give Tua credit. I thought he played a good game. I thought they came back and made it at least interesting in the second half. But you cannot start this way. And they're never going to beat this narrative that they can't win in cold weather until they show up for a game and actually are not out of it at halftime. And that's basically what happened yesterday. And, now their season, they basically need to run the table if they want to get to 10 wins and assure themselves of a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, there was a big narrative coming in that the Dolphins can't win in the cold. And I was willing to say, hey, you know what? Let's see what happens in this one. But they did not look great. A lot of penalties, false starts and lining up. They just weren't in sync at all. And they had a chance to come back in the fourth quarter, but, fell. Couldn't. They had to kick the field goal that really put it out of reach. Green Bay did. So, look, I was happy that I had Tua and Tyreek. They got that garbage time touchdown. I'm playing against John Hodge.
Oh, yeah.
In the media league. So they ended up putting up a lot of fantasy points, but that does not put wins in the standings. So I did enjoy the game from a fantasy perspective, but not great for a Dolphin season that hasn't gone according to plan after the Tua injury. And I do wonder about Tyreek Hill if he's on the wrong side of his career now.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. I mean, like barring a miracle, the two teams that I think still have an outside chance of getting into the AFC. We'll talk about this with Hacksaw a little later on, or Cincinnati with their schedule, and the Dolphins still. But that was a tough spot for them. I expected a little bit more though from Miami last night. They weren't that competitive, and I'll tell you what, Packers are a problem. I think we saw Detroit look a lot more vulnerable yesterday. The Packers look like they'll be a tough outcome in the playoffs. The Eagles, as much as I hate to admit this, have completely turned that season around after that tough start and are looking very dangerous. They've got the Ravens this week. So it'll give us lots to talk about in the NFL Notebook coming up a little later on. Let's get to this Jet game tonight, though, Reem. And, the team actually had a practice yesterday. And I know we talked with Murat. I know we put it out on the channel. I was talking about Mark Scheifele, and everyone's saying, myself included, well, he's got to be hurt. He's got to be hurt, right? Maybe he's not. I mean, he was a full participant at practice yesterday. Mike spoke with him. We're going to talk to Mike in about 15 minutes about all of this as well. Maybe it was just a few down games. And they've realized that Gabriel Velarde is an absolute demon in the faceoff circle, and they're going to lead on him to win more draws than maybe any other center on the Winnipeg Jets. It is a little strange, but we know how important Mark is to this team. And, I think the hope is that this top line and the Winnipeg Jets will look a little more like the team that played in the third period against Minnesota and has played the majority of this season, as opposed to the team that really just got smothered by the Los Angeles Kings their last time out. Yeah, it was not a good game against the LA Kings. Like, only Kupari was the one seemed to have his legs going, and it's been a slow stretcher for the top line. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, neither had a shot on goal. Very surprising. And Mike McIntyre did catch up with Mark Scheifele and asked, and seemed like Mike asked him if he was battling an injury. He doesn't have the question in, but Mark's quote was, "Gabe's been doing well, so I'm just going to leave it at that." So he's not saying, hey, I'm hurt, but he's also not coming out and saying, if I'm in the lineup, I'm 100% or something like that, that we've seen before. So he just kept saying Gabe is doing well. Gabe's been great. And Mike noted that Mark wasn't really addressing the question directly, is he injured or not, and wouldn't even say that he was fine. So I do think it is something. And you mentioned the faceoffs. I think Gabe's just over 60%. Mark Scheifele's at 50%. So maybe they have something here, Huss, and maybe he could be a guy to go with, big,
big draws or whatever, and you need a win, put in Gabe. But I mean, it's small sample size. You have to see how it weighs out. I mean, you look at Gabe Vilardi, he's taken 73 faceoffs. Mark Scheifele's taken 341. Gabe 61.6%. Scheifele 50.2. To note, Scheifele's actually got a better faceoff percentage than Adam Lowry, who's at 47.3, and Nemestikov 46.9. So this is something to watch. Is Mark Scheifele battling an injury or not? If he puts a couple points up tonight against Vegas, probably not talking about face-offs and all that, after the game.
Yeah, as you said, I'm looking forward to having Mike on. I mean, he's got boots on the ground. We'll see. And Marat did speculate of potentially, a little bit of a shakeup to the lines of the lineup today. Although it seemed like everything was pretty much status quo at practice yesterday. So when Mike comes on, we'll find out a little bit more on that. Heading into the game, we actually got a little bit of Adam Lowry and some good stuff from Dean Chenoweth, who spoke, who we haven't seen. So we'll play that in just a second. One thing that I did want to touch on right off the bat, though, Reem, was a little update from the Sea Bears and a beautiful message remembering Chad Posthumus. Listen, I've just retweeted it. It just speaks about, Chad's life, his loves, how much he's going to be missed. The other thing, though, is that, Chad, and I'm not sure whether we really even talked about this, but Chad, as a youngster, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 7. And had celiac disease. He was actually a vegetarian for a decade and, was very much into workout and wellness, which makes, his loss, that much more tragic and shocking. But they did, announce that a celebration of Chad's life is going to be held a week today at December 6th at the Springs Church on La Jamodier. The doors are opening at 3 p.m. and the service is beginning at 3 p.m. But they did say to people in Winnipeg, in the basketball community, Sea Bears fans, friends of Chad, people that, were thinking about sending flowers or something. They did ask in lieu of flowers, please consider a donation to Breakthrough T1D, type 1 diabetes, or a memorial scholarship, which will be set up in Chad's honor, which we'll let you know on that. We've linked that. We'll also retweet that from the Winnipeg Sports Talk account. And you'll be able to see that. And there is a link as well from the Sea Bears, Breakthrough T1D, with the link if you do want to make a donation in Chad's memory. All right, let's get back to the game tonight. And let's hear a little bit from Dean Chenoweth. One thing that was a little unusual, and I know the same goes for the Vegas Golden Knights, as they're doing their 5th game in 8 nights as well. These teams have no time to practice. Well, I think while the majority of NHL teams were probably off yesterday doing Thanksgiving, the entire Jets crew was on the road. I'm sure they had a big dinner together afterwards, but they did hit the ice for the first practice in a while. And here's what Dean Chenoweth said about just getting the opportunity to get back on the ice on a non-game day with the squad.
Just the fact of coming off a loss like we had last night, it's important to keep the guys together, get them back out, try to regroup them. We got to take what we can from that game, but we got to move forward for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I guess, pieces of that game last night, probably in the second period that you would like, but what's the key to maybe getting back to more consistent 60-minute effort?
Well, I think the biggest thing with our group is when we play as an 18-man unit, with everybody contributing, it's a tough league. So you need everybody. You can't have guys that take nights off. You can't have guys that, have that off night. You need the other guys to pick them up and drag them along. And, that was not our best hockey by any means. And now we've got the back end of this road trip with 2 extremely tough teams.
Dean Chenoweth, and yeah, the weekend speaks for itself. Vegas tonight, again, 7:30 Winnipeg time. And then Sunday afternoon, and I think the Stars taken advantage of the fact that the Cowboys will be out of sight, out of mind this weekend, having played on Thanksgiving. Dallas kind of getting into that Sunday afternoon window for an afternoon game with the Winnipeg Jets. And Dallas has that big one against Colorado tonight. They're coming off an absolute stinker, getting pumped by the Blackhawks on Wednesday night, heading into the Thanksgiving holiday. One thing that the Winnipeg Jets have been able to do all season long is move past when they played less than their best and really bounce back. They'll be looking for that today against Vegas. Chino talked about the Jets' ability to bounce back so far this year.
Yeah, so far this season we have, and this is just another one of those moments. You go through a season when you have an 82-game schedule where, you're going to have those games, and then it's how you respond. It's the next game, it's the next shift, it's after a goal, and you got to be able to put yourself in the position to have success in those.
Just on personnel, Vlad Nemestikov wasn't out there today. Anything going on with him, or just maintenance?
Maintenance day, as I'm aware of right now.
Just curious, a couple of games in for Ville Heinola now. Are you seeing him kind of getting a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more back up to the game speed?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, missing all the training camp or most of it without any games, and then being thrown in the thick of things in a tough schedule. So I thought, the first game he probably played on a lot of adrenaline and excitement. And then the second game, obviously, we didn't play good as a group. So there's stuff to work on there, and that's what we're here to do, is continue to develop him.
Funny, and I'll go back to our conversation with Murat, and I thought he made a great point. Ville Heinola had no business being one of the best Jets on the ice against the LA Kings, but he was. And I think that speaks to sort of an off night for a number of the members of the Winnipeg Jets. But certainly from my vantage point, Ville has done himself no disservice with the way he's played for the first couple of games, and we expect he'll be back in the lineup tonight alongside Colin Miller on that third pairing. Here's just one more from the Jets assistant coach. Spoke about what to expect going up against the Vegas Golden Knights, and the keys to coming out with 2 points.
Well, the biggest thing is puck management. We were turning pucks over like we were the other night. That's going to make it tough on any defense and any five-man units coming back. But if we can manage the puck, we can get good gaps. You want to break out as a five-man unit, and we got away from that in that game.
All right, so a rare visit with Dean Chenoweth, who did the media duties with Mike McIntyre in the place of Scott O'Neill heading into this game. The captain did step up, though. Adam Lowry, who has had a great season so far. He and his line, along with the fourth line, massive parts of the win against the Minnesota Wild. But he, like many of his teammates, struggled against LA. They'll look to have a much better performance today. But first, it was time to hit the practice ice. Lowry spoke about a very rare opportunity to practice yesterday.
Seeing the video and the tape from last night, I think it's clear there's areas of our game that we weren't very sharp with, and best in those areas. The offense, we don't generate a lot of opportunities, and we spend a lot of time defending. I think and it was pretty cut and dry, the message coming from Arnie and what we need to improve upon, and I think everyone recognizes that's not how we expect to play, or that's kind of not the standard we've set for ourselves this year. So today, in practice, I think it's more just about getting the hands and the feet moving again. Obviously it's a quick turnaround tomorrow. In an earlier evening game, so there will be no morning skate. But today, kind of rest, recover. Try and do everything you can so that tomorrow you have your legs, you kind of are mentally sharp, and you can make the right decisions out there that ultimately we didn't do last night.
Did do video, huh? I figured that video was probably one of the least enjoyable video sessions the Jets have had this year. We'll talk about it with Mike coming up in a few minutes. Of course, when you're going up against Vegas, you better be ready for a tough forecheck. Lowry talked a little bit about what they expect to face, including that tough Vegas forecheck tonight at T-Mobile.
Yeah, I think it's connectedness. I think it's predictability. And in execution. There wasn't a lot of bobble passes in that second half of the game. There was a lot of good back pressure that we kind of shut them down one and done, or didn't even allow them to get the opportunity to get a shot on net. And I think, it is forwards working back for D. It's kind of forwards being in the spots that D expect, and, the D partners communicating and kind of, being the eyes for the guy that's got to go back and get the puck. I think, anytime you can break out as a unit of 5, generally you can get the puck through the neutral zone and you can get to your forecheck. And, I find that's really when we're at our best, is we're advancing kind of zones where we're not, turning pucks over high in our end or high in the offensive zone. And then we can create some sustained zone time. And, like last night, that was definitely not the case.
All right, Adam Lowry. Now, as I mentioned, everyone in the league was off yesterday. I imagine most teams were off to do their Thanksgiving, but the Jets are on the road. Lowry was asked if there are any kind of team-building activities going on around Thanksgiving while the team is on the road away from the Peg.
There's probably not as much bonding going on away from the rink as usually on the road. Usually, if you're on a long road trip, you have a couple days and you can have some team dinners. But like you said, guys get together for dinners, guys get together to watch the Thanksgiving football games. Finding ways to win on the road, it kind of builds that trust in your group and kind of that camaraderie. It's tough to win, in other teams' buildings, and ultimately we've been pretty successful on the road. Obviously, we haven't liked a few of our last road games, but anytime you kind of spend, a long extended period of time, you can build those friendships. You can kind of build those relationships off the ice that I think only strengthens the group in here.
All right, so there's Captain Adam Lowry. We're going to bring in Mike McIntyre in just a sec from Vegas to tee this one up tonight. Then Gary Lawless after Mike will join us as well. Hey, just before we bring in Mike, folks, the holidays are here, and guess what's just around the corner? 2025. And if you and your family have a move planned for 2025, you're probably stressing about it already. Well, guess what? Our friends at Rolly's Transfer are here to help you. Family owned and operated for over 60 years in Manitoba. They're the most trusted moving company, and for good reason. They've been around that long and have been serving Manitobans now into their 7th decade with the white glove service that Rolly's is famous for. And with their extensive logistics business, they're around the city and southern part of the province on a daily basis, which means flexible routes, flexible timing, and great rates on your next move. What you're going to want to do is head on over to Rollies.com and check out their great new website. And at the top right corner, you'll see it says request an estimate. Click on that. Let them know you're a Winnipeg Sports Talk listener by putting in WST in the promo code for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And let them know when you're moving, where you're moving, and of course, what needs to be moved. And our friends at Rollies will turn it around with a great quote for you to get you locked and loaded and focused on your next destination. For your next move, take as much of the stress out of it as possible and get the white glove treatment of the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today at Rollies.com. All right. Of course, Christmas, it's going to be December next week. And all you dads, grandpas, uncles out there, Christmas, give a gift that matters with the help of Manitoba Battery. Don't let your loved ones be stranded in the cold with a vehicle that won't start. Make sure they're equipped to handle what's ever thrown at them this winter with the NOCO 1000 amp booster pack for only $139.50, or get them a set of 25-inch foot booster cables for just $65. And of course, you can treat yourself to a great deal and grab that ice fishing flasher battery you need, or that sled battery that needs to be replaced. All for the best prices in the city, period, hands down, beating the pants off the big box stores. Whether it's to you or your loved ones, let Manitoba Battery help you give a gift that matters this Christmas. Learn and find out more at manitobabattery.com, with 2 locations to serve you and free delivery inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. And as we bring in Mike, today is Black Friday, and F Apparel has their Black Friday sale on going up until December 2nd, and it is their biggest event of the year. The best in custom suits, starting at just $34.95. Or sorry, $349.95. That would be a real significant discount if you could get a great custom suit for $35. Ties starting at $19. Custom dress shirts at $49. You can shop online at fapparel.com. That's EPHapparel.com. Or visit their showroom at 190 Smith Street to take advantage of these incredible deals. Don't miss your chance to suit up in style at the F Apparel Black Friday Madness sale on through December 2nd. All right, let's bring in Mike McIntyre. The Jets aren't the only road warriors right now. Mike, how are you handling the time away from home?
Huss, put it this way, it's a beautiful day here in Vegas, of course. Nice temperatures, sun is shining, and I cannot wait to get home to the snow and the cold. I miss Winnipeg. I miss my bed. I miss my family. And it's funny, I can relate to everything Adam Lowry was just saying in that clip he played. The only bonding I've been doing is with my hotel beds on this trip, because sleep has been at a premium. I've actually pretty much since day one of this trip, I've come down with a bit of a chest congestion, sinus infection, whatever. Which when you throw in a lot of flights, late nights, early mornings, lack of sleep, all that. It's been a grind. So I haven't played a single shift, and I'm exhausted. I can only imagine how tired the Jets are feeling. Yes, they get to fly on charter airplanes and stay in really nice hotels, but 3 time zone changes, that's no joke. Playing every other day, it is definitely a grind. So it's been a lot of fun. But I am definitely looking forward to returning home from Texas on Monday afternoon, Huss.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of noticed when we spoke to you last week, right at the start of the trip, you were feeling it a little bit. I'm in a similar situation, and it's the exact same thing, that sort of chest. And I figured it was just remnants from a very, very good time at the Grey Cup in Vancouver.
I think I'm on about my 3rd bag of these bad boys so far on the trip. So
you've been hitting up Walgreens on a regular basis, I'm sure.
If I need a frequent flyer card or something, yeah, I've been a regular customer of Walgreens.
Hey, you were just in Vegas. Where are you staying? Are you on the Strip? Are you on Fremont? Are you off the Strip? What? Where are you? And is it different when you're working than when you're there on pleasure?
Oh, absolutely. And so that's the other thing why this feels like a long road trip. My wife and I were just in Vegas for 8 days on holidays, came home for less than 72 hours, and then turned around on this trip. So I think by the time it's all done, it's going to be 20 of 23 days spent away. I hope Piper even remembers who I am when I get home on Monday. I suspect she's missing me. But yeah, Vegas is a little bit different. Actually, my brother and his buddy are in town here for the game today. So managed to have a nice dinner with them last night just to catch up. So it's nice to have a familiar face, a couple of faces on the road here. I am staying on this Strip. I'm actually staying just down, not far away at all from the rink at the now a Marriott property, Huss. You know how we love our Marriott properties. The Luxor. I don't have one of those pyramid rooms, though. Like, I have a regular ceiling. I think they have some rooms here with the arched ceiling. But, yeah, it's like a 15-minute walk to the rink. So there's a lot of people. I walked all the way down. It was about a 45-minute walk to where we had dinner last night. Vegas is hopping right now. Obviously, yesterday being Thanksgiving. I don't think I've ever seen as many children in Vegas as there are right now. And I've been here a lot. This place is crawling with children, which you wouldn't think Vegas is maybe a prime destination.
Teach them those point spreads young. Let's get them in, get them into the book, get them in and make their picks. Well, it's funny because I was there. Well, whatever that was, I guess the end of October or for the Chiefs Raider game.
Yep.
And it's funny, I went and watched the Knights and the Ottawa Senators, and it was a holiday in Vegas. It was Nevada Day or whatever that is. And the game started at 3, and I was at the game. And I mean, I've been to a bunch of Knights games since they came into the NHL. There was 20 times more kids at that game than I've ever seen before. And, you know, with this being a holiday and a 5:30 local start, might seem a little bit different in the building. I imagine you've probably seen quite a few Jet fans around in your limited travels as well. This is always a great time for Jet fans to hit the road, get away from a little bit, and enjoy Vegas and, of course, the game.
It is. And one of the quirks of Vegas, Huss, this is one of the few NHL cities where the team typically does not take a bus to the rink, because where the team stays is so close to the rink. Players and coaches, they generally just walk. And I've seen it before with other teams, and certainly with the Jets. If you're in the right place at the right time, there's some primo autograph opportunities as the players make their way a few hours before puck drop.
You're in the media. You're not supposed to be asking for any autographs, Mike.
Yeah, nobody asked for my autograph, Huss. Although I had a funny moment walking home the other night, or walking back to the hotel in downtown Los Angeles from Crypto. My hotel was about 20 minutes away, so it was like midnight. Probably not the best idea to be walking in a suit with a laptop in downtown LA in the middle of the night, but I did it. Anyways, I walked past a group of folks who kind of looked like they weren't up to any good. And you're going to love this. One of the guys in the group says to me, "Hey, man, are you a lawyer?" Because I got the suit on, right? And I guess, I don't know what they were up to. I suspect they thought they might need the services of a lawyer. I disappointed them when I told them, no, I'm not. I should have said yes and just played along to kind of see where. I mean, I covered the law courts for 2 decades. I feel like I kind of have a law degree by default.
You could play that role on the streets, just in a random conversation.
Street lawyer, Mike McIntyre, yeah.
So you didn't pick up any odd jobs after LA,
no.
But you did see a game where the Jets, for the first time in a long time, I mean, to me, this is a very different game than Minnesota, because, you know, while Minnesota came out gangbusters and put a ton of shots on net, I mean, the Jets were generating some even early on. And the final 25, especially the final period, was great from the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that third period, considering the circumstances, knowing that Minnesota would be pressing down a goal, there was a lot to like and a lot to build on off that, and something you could maybe take later on in the season and remember what you were able to do. We never got to that point against the Kings. And in stark contrast to the third period in Minnesota, the third period was, well, put it this way, the Kings did to the Jets, as they'd done for the first 2 periods, maybe even in a more impressive fashion, what the Jets did to Minnesota. And it just never really got going for Winnipeg almost throughout the lineup, with the exception of a guy like Rasmus Kupari, who somehow had his legs, which never seemed to stop going. And, you know, while he was stymied on that penalty shot, you know, all night was drawing attention and drawing guys into the box. But, you know, overall, that looked like a team that had been on 4 games in 6 nights and traveling every day.
Yeah, and you know, surprising in that we've just come to expect, even if the Jets don't have it in one period, we just haven't seen that compound itself really at any time this season. And so I think going into that third period the other night, you fully expected, and why wouldn't you, to see the Jets kind of mount a bit of a challenge. And instead, what did they go the first 13 minutes of that third period trailing without a shot on goal? They only had 2 in the whole period. They didn't put up any real fight, no pushback, as Rick Bowness would probably have stated. A little surprising, Huss, because yes, they're tired, but Coach Scott Arniel had actually rewarded the team with an unexpected day off the day before Now, maybe that was a mistake in hindsight. Maybe the 4-hour flight from Mini to LA and then not skating was actually worse than the rest that they would have banked. And I don't know about you, Huss. I found it interesting to see how Scott Arniel kind of pointed the finger of blame at himself after the game. There's a whole litany of coach playbooks, if you will, on how to deal with a loss. And, sometimes coaches will come out and they'll rip their team publicly. Sometimes they'll almost do reverse psychology and do the opposite. But then there's also the chapter, if you will, where you blame yourself, you fall on the sword. And it was interesting that Scott Arniel said, we didn't come out with our legs and we didn't come out kind of ready. And I'll put that on me. And I wonder if deep down, is he alluding to, did he regret giving them the day off the day before because he thought it actually hampered how they played? You won't have that excuse, I guess, today because the Jets were settled in Vegas, a lot less of a flight from LA to Vegas than Minnesota to LA. And they practiced yesterday. So, there was no morning skate today because it's the 5:30 local puck drop. But I'm really curious to see how this team now responds. Certainly they've said all the right things, and the recent history would tell us they typically do all the right things. But standing in their way today is a pretty darn good opponent. They're coming off a loss themselves. Granted, it was in a shootout. But Vegas always seems to be kind of the kryptonite to Winnipeg, if you will. They're like the big brother, the Jets, the little brother that just can't seem to get over the hump here. So this is a big game. Obviously, 2 big games left on this road trip. Neither will be easy. And, if the Jets can find a way to just even win one of these last 2, I think all things considered, they'd be pretty happy with a 500 road trip. If you drop these next 2, and especially if you don't play to your game, I think the Jets would say that they're going on now 3 games in a row where most of it they haven't liked. Obviously, they did get the win in Mini. Yes, they played really well in the second half, but they weren't very good to begin. And then they had the Nashville kind of stinker. And, that was on a back-to-back, and Nashville was a desperate team. But then the LA clunker the other night. So, yeah, these next 2 games, starting with tonight, are pretty important, I think, for the Jets overall.
Hey, I want to get to Mark Scheifele, but first off, goaltending. I know there was no morning skate today. Do you expect Hellebuyck to get both games this weekend? And when do we see Eric Comrie?
I do expect Connor Hellebuyck to get both games this weekend. I suppose Eric Comrie could get the Tuesday home game against St. Louis, and then he'd also play probably Sunday against Columbus back in Winnipeg. In that sense, he could get 2 straight home games, Huss, and both kind of in a week, because then Connor Hellebuyck would presumably get the 2 road games in Buffalo and Chicago being on the front end of a back-to-back. So, yeah, I do think Hellebuyck plays both. I also wouldn't totally rule out them rolling with Hellebuyck right through to that back-to-back next weekend. That seems a little more unlikely, however. But, yeah, 2 big divisional games, 2 strong opponents. I think the Jets are going to want to throw their best at Vegas and Dallas here. Yes, the Blues are playing better now that they've brought in Jim Montgomery. That's one of those trap games too, Huss, the 1-game return home after the long road trip. So, yeah, I could see Eric Comrie getting in action on next Tuesday for the next time.
Mike, a big topic around Jetland has been Mark Scheifele. And listen, this came out of the game last Tuesday where, he had his best game of the season, a real statement game, I thought, for Mark kind of putting his stamp on the season and the start that he and his team has had, and an unequivocal argument that he should be on Team Canada. He hasn't really seemed himself the last couple games.
No.
And he hasn't been taking any of these face-offs, which has led to all sorts of speculation, myself included, that maybe he's hurt. And then he's a full participant in practice. Hasn't said anything about that. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe we're just creating something that isn't there. And we've got a situation that Gabriel Velarde's just been an absolute demon in the face-off circle. And they're letting him take the draws. You spoke with Mark Scheifele. I mean, tell us how that went through and kind of what you've noticed both on the ice and just around the team as you've continued this road trip and where things are at with 55 as we get into tonight.
There's no question in my mind, Huss, Mark Scheifele has an injury right now. Zero question at all. I'm not as convinced, and I don't want to speculate too much here. I know a lot of people think it's maybe a wrist. I don't know. I think it's maybe more of a shoulder, but who knows? Whatever it is, it's not serious enough that it's knocking him out of the lineup or even, as we saw yesterday, practice. But clearly, it's impeding his ability to take faceoffs. I added up the numbers yesterday, Huss. Mark Scheifele's line has had, on this 4-game road trip so far, there's been 67 faceoffs with that line of Scheifele, Vilardi, Connor. Vilardi's taken 62, Mark Scheifele's taken 4, and Kyle Connor has taken 1. Now, when I say Mark Scheifele's taken 4, those were in the first 2 games. He took 2 in each of the Pittsburgh and Nashville game. He hasn't taken a single one in the last 2. And most telling of all, I think it was in Minnesota on Monday, Gabe Vilardi got waved out of the dot. Kyle Connor stepped in to take the faceoff like that. So even if you subscribe to the, well, Gabe Vilardi's just been really good, and he has, he's got like a 61% rate in the dot in those 4 games, Huss, which if you compared that over a full season or the season so far, he'd be 4th in the entire NHL in faceoff efficiency. That's just over the last 4 games with that percentage. But he's been really good. But I mean, when Mark Scheifele doesn't even step in to take the waved off faceoff, when he defers to Kyle Connor, that's telling you something's up. But it's more than just faceoffs. Mark Scheifele has 5 shots on goal total in the last 4 games. He had, I think it was 45 in the first 19. He had no shots on goal last game. Now, he had some company in that department because they only had 14 overall. The other telltale sign for me, Huss, and you've seen it, no doubt, fans have as well, Mark Scheifele's a visibly frustrated player out there. Look at the other night in Nashville. He takes 3 minor penalties in the first couple periods. Look at Monday. He gets tangled up with Jake Middleton. Looked like he was about to go with him, which resulted hilariously in an 8-minute and 5-second 2-minute penalty for Mark Scheifele. That's an interesting little bit of trivia, and we actually had a good laugh. Mark Scheifele was telling me yesterday he kind of wishes in hindsight he had just taken a misconduct because at least that would have counted towards beefing up his PIMS, he said, instead of just a 2-minute penalty that seemingly went on forever. But so you see the visible frustration, with him doing things he doesn't normally do. He's not shooting the puck. He's not taking faceoffs, all of which I think is ample evidence to conclude that something's bothering him physically. But he's playing through it. Presumably, whatever it is, he's not making it worse, because I think if he was, given that the Jets, have built up a bit of a comfort here with their hot start, that they would probably be, resting him if they felt that was the move. And let me just quickly discount one theory. I know a lot of people, because of the 4 nations, and they're going to name the team next week, people are saying, oh, he's just auditioning for Team Canada. He's showing them that he can play the wing. Well, two things. He's not really playing the wing. He's still doing all the other stuff that a centerman would do other than taking faceoffs. But most importantly, there is no way Mark Scheifele or the Winnipeg Jets would be essentially putting, Team Canada message sending above the betterment of the Jets as a whole. And suddenly, playing around with how they put their lineup out there and what they do just so they can prove a point to Team Canada. That's just not happening.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I did kind of wonder aloud if this was a guy that, under normal circumstances, especially with the start that the team had, would have maybe taken a little bit of time off, but did not want to be seen as injured going into the point where the final decisions are made. But I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think at minimum, he would be like, they would have given him a maintenance day yesterday, like Vlad Nemetsnikov. So
that's a good sign, I think. I think that's an encouraging sign. Yeah. Right, because Team Canada wasn't like taking attendance at practice yesterday. So that to me tells me that either it's for sure it's probably not getting worse, and if anything, maybe it's improving. And you just hope, if you're the Jets, that a return to kind of the previous form that we've seen, because Mark Scheifele was off to a tremendous start. These last 4 games have been a bit of an anomaly. You hope that that's just right around the corner. And maybe it is. Maybe it happens tonight in Vegas. I can tell you, Mark, we had a chat yesterday about playing Vegas, and Mark Scheifele was pretty clear that there's a sour taste every time he sees the Golden Knights as a kind of a reminder of what they've done to the Jets in a couple playoff runs. This would be a good time for Mark Scheifele to kind of revert to previous form.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, it's been pretty clear the last 2 games. The best line on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets has been the fourth line.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex Iafallo had, such an amazing game, both on the score sheet and doing things that didn't show up on the score sheet in Minnesota. And then Kupari, I don't think there's any doubt, was the Jets' best, most effective forward, albeit the bar was relatively low. The first line has had tough time going, and we've talked a little bit about that. I would say that the second line is the line that they could really use a boost for. And I'll tell you what, I'm expecting a bounce-back game from those guys. We heard Adam Lowry talk about the video work coming out of the LA game after practice. And I said yesterday, it was going to be an uncomfortable video session for Perfetti and Ehlers when they got into the second goal that ended up being the winner yesterday. And listen, that's going to happen throughout the year. It is how you handle that sort of adversity and come back for it. But I would say those two, and Cole in particular, could really use a boost of confidence and a strong game tonight against a team that is in a very similar situation as the Jets. It's been on the road. It's played 5 games in 8 nights, every night in a different city.
Yeah, so starting with your point about Kupari and that fourth line, absolutely, Huss. And I'll say this, Rasmus Kupari has kind of made a bit of a liar out of Scott Arniel. And I don't mean any disrespect towards the coach. It's just that I suspect Scott Arniel's plan was to get David Gustafsson. Maybe we would have seen a bit of a rotation here where the Gus Bus and Rasmus Kupari were kind of rotating in and out of the lineup a bit. How do you take Rasmus Kupari out of your lineup? You don't. For one thing, he's actually been their most consistent guy in the faceoff circle until Gabe Vilardi's now kind of emerged. But the Jets have been using him to take big draws, especially in their own end. They'll throw him out and then, take him off once he wins the draw and they get possession. He's killing penalties. He drew 3 penalties the other day, including the penalty shot, using his speed. My goodness, Huss, if he had a little bit more finish, if his hands were a little bit better, like he could be the Jets' second line center. But the offense, unfortunately, just kind of isn't there.
He's got every other tool. I mean, world-class speed. He's tenacious.
Got
he's
some
a great
size.
forechecker. That's just not something that he really brings to the table, and I don't think you don't just invent that. I mean,
No.
listen, I'll say this again. I said it on the show yesterday. I mean, I was out watching the game, and we see this play happen very quickly, and boom, penalty shot, and I'm like, oh, great. And then I saw it was 15, and I'm like, we kind of got into it yesterday, just a concept of a rule change. Like, would you like to see it if that situation was there? And again, this is maybe unfair to Rasmus, but where you could just take a power play instead of a penalty shot, because I think the Jets at 35% have a much better chance, and they scored in 10 seconds or less when they actually got a power play in that game. Or potentially, if the NHL wants offense, make it like soccer where you can pick anybody that was on the ice, for instance, at the time. I mean, those were just kind of fun conversations. But listen, no knock on Kupari. He has exceeded my expectations maybe tenfold right now, is playing great, and he's doing exactly what they need to do. And he, along with Alex Iafallo and Morgan Barron, have turned that fourth line into a line that absolutely has the trust of the coach. And we saw by how much they were playing in the final 5 minutes of that game against Minnesota, which would not have been on the table in previous years under previous staffs.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the Lowry line as the identity line, and I think it's fair to now include the Kupari line. That's also very much an identity line for the Jets. Rasmus Kupari is showing why the Jets push for him to be included in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. I know some viewed him as just a throwaway or a toss-in. The Jets wanted him, and you can see why. And he's also showing why he was a first-round pick. There's a lot there to like. Going back to your point about the second line, Cole Perfetti is fighting at something fierce right now. I had a great one-on-one with him the other day in Los Angeles, Huss, and this is a guy who, everything that could go wrong right now is, including, there he was in Minnesota on Monday morning, getting out there. Early bird gets the worm. He's out there shooting pucks before any teammates are out there, trying to obviously find his game. He told me he just likes to see the puck go in the net, even if it's an empty net at practice when it's not going in. Nino Niederreiter joins him a few minutes later. Niederreiter rings a shot off the crossbar that immediately hits Perfetti right in the face. Wednesday in LA, morning skate. He's staying out there late to put in extra work. His stick snaps in half. I'm waiting at his stall for him, and he walks in frustrated and just throws the two pieces of the stick into the garbage can. He's hit he's hit iron a few times, including the second period the other night, Huss, which is the one brief flurry that the Jets showed a little bit of life. They were within a goal, and Cole Perfetti and Josh Morrissey both hit iron. And they could have tied it up, an inch here, inch there. That's kind of the way it's going for Perfetti, as you mentioned, that kind of flyby on the second goal. Both him and Nick Ehlers did not look very good on the film on that one. And that they need to get that group going. The other thing to watch, Huss, going into today, you mentioned Vlad Nemestikov. If I recall, I think he got banged up a little bit in Minnesota the other day, and he may have missed a shift or two. Obviously, didn't affect him Wednesday, but the fact he took maintenance yesterday, again, with no morning skate, we assume he's going to be in today. If he's not, David Gustafson, unless they went with 7D, and Logan Stanley's very close, by the way, to being ready. Unless they went with 7D and 11 forwards, I assume David Gustafson would come in. I don't think David Gustafson, though, would go right to that second line. So I don't know how they align them. The other thing to watch, Huss, do the Jets start the game tonight the way they finished the other night? They flipped Alex Iafallo and Cole Perfetti. Do they go back to the way they had the lines, or does Cole Perfetti potentially start the game tonight on the fourth line? Like you said, that line's been so good. I don't know that you want to change it, but you're also trying to get the team going as a whole. So some interesting things to watch. And as you say, Vegas is going to be a tough out tonight. But they're a tired group as well. So who knows? We could have this could be an absolute turkey-induced snoozer here today, or it also could be like a wild and woolly Western Conference shootout. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. Are the Jets going to be leaking gravy all over the ice like Nate Schmidt proclaimed a few years ago in Mini? They certainly hope not.
Well, I think it's more likely that the Knights will be leaking gravy because I'm sure they were off yesterday doing Thanksgiving things as most teams were, and the Jets were practicing and watching some football. And listen, I think they'll look to be much better than they were against the LA Kings, and if they can do that, give themselves a chance to win against another real good team. Mike, thank you for being such a trooper. Great stuff. Take care of yourself. And, of course, another big one on Sunday before you finally get back to the peg on Monday. Travel safely. Thanks for doing this, and enjoy this afternoon.
You bet, Huss. Thanks very much. Enjoy the weekend, folks.
Good stuff. There's Mike McIntyre. Great stuff. I've just been paying attention to the chat. And let's quickly get in some fan feedback brought to you by our friends at fansfirst.ca, your best option for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets with no fees. What you see is what you pay, and your number one option when you need to get rid of a couple tickets to get max value for it based on the market with the best customer service in the ticket resale game. Check out the website at fansfirst.ca. Lots of talk about Mark Scheifele. Comment, I don't mind if 55 plays through something, but tonight you have to up the courage and produce. I'm seeing that, Tikon Apolli saying, lucky for 55 that he didn't get into that fight with Jake Middleton because Middleton is in another weight class than Mark. Waiter said, Matt Larkin said Scheifele has no chance to make Team Canada. That's fake news. He said that he didn't have him on his team. But again, he also didn't have Josh on his team. So we're already preparing the Crow to serve to Matt when he joins us on the show after the team is named. But hey, lots of talent. We've got a little bit of lots of talk about some toughness. Boring Sean Monahan. Hopefully it's not a Black Friday massacre. Definitely hope not. That is not the case. And then Kevin Kowalik. I'd rather just let Cole Perfetti figure it out. Press boxing him, unless it's just for a game to reset himself, doesn't seem like a great idea. And I don't think that's on the table at all. But as Mike said, we did see him move to the fourth line. I prefer them to start with Perfetti up on the second line and hopefully get him work through it. He is the sort of player that when one good thing happens, I think we'll really see some momentum going forward. And some other great comments. Lots about it. MC Stormy says, sometimes you need a wake-up call. Hopefully the fourth line demotion does it, but if not, to the media box. And Joel Kevinson, top line has been leaking gravy for the last few games. Keep your thoughts coming in the chat, and you can hit us up at Sports Talk WPG on X and the other platforms. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, we're going to have Gary Lawless join us in just a moment. Big thanks to Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. The Mega Smasher deal is on right now at your local Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and out in Brandon for you folks in the western part of the province. But you don't even need to leave your house for the great deals for the Mega Smasher. Go to megasmasher.ca, princessauto.ca to check out the flyer and everything going on for the 2-week Mega Smasher event going up until December 1st on Saturday. Last weekend for this. And again, don't forget, Bell's Kitchen and Music Hall is open, officially opened yesterday. Check it out this weekend if you want world-class barbecue, great live entertainment, and amazing drinks. It's a no-tipping concept restaurant and entertainment hall, if you will. Got a chance to check out the opening last weekend. Phenomenal spot. Cannot wait to get back there again. 1212 Nairn if you're looking for a great spot to check out this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, if you're heading by your local Manitoba Liquor Marts thinking about the weekend, think about the holidays at the same time and check out the second issue of the Invitation Series from Canadian Club. The CC Classic 18-year-old high proof with elevated expression, offering the well-known smooth, well-balanced taste of Canadian Club Classic, carefully aged and bottled at a higher proof for a full-bodied tasting experience. The Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof was awarded gold at the 2024 International Wine and Spirit Competition. It's on right now while supplies last. $79.95 right now. Pick it up for your own personal enjoyment, for entertaining over the holidays, and it'll make a great gift for the whiskey lover in your circle and on your list. But you got to get it before it's gone, because this is a one-time release available right now. The Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And just before we bring in the lawman, a huge thanks to our friends at Wallace & Wallace, the fencing and overhead door specialists in Winnipeg since 1946. If your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, or if winter's done a number on your old one, they've got you covered with vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And if you do need a new garage door, they also have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors. Give them a buzz, 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also visit them online at wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down to their showroom in person on Lawson Crescent off of Kenniston. By the way, just before we bring in Gary, a huge thank you to our friend Sam Crow, great supporter of the channel, with a very generous super chat. All right, everyone, get in your bunkers. It's time to get this weekend started. Happy weekend, everyone. Sam Crow, thank you very much. Appreciate the support. And yes, the weekend will officially start after the marble race. Before that, we've got Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And right now, Gary Lawless joins us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Oh, man, I guess, do I wish you a happy Thanksgiving? You are a Canadian, yet you ply your trade south of the border. How was the day yesterday with no hockey?
I celebrate both. We celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving at my place this year. We had a great crowd, a lot of fun. And yesterday, my buddy Danny he's got a new house. He's got a pretty good setup, Huss. You'd like it. The whole outdoor TV lounge. They had all the football games on outside with a fire going. And it was pretty good. He made a turkey. It was fascinating. He did it with a cheesecloth. I've never seen this before. So he stuffed like a pound of butter. You pull the skin of the turkey up and you put some butter, some turkey and some seasoning in between the skin and the bird. Then you put the cheesecloth on top of the bird, and then you cover it with you put a quarter pound of butter between the skin and the meat, and then on top of the cheesecloth, 3/4 of a pound of butter, and it came out delicious.
It sounds good. I'm just Googling what a cheesecloth is right now. This is a few things that are out of my realm of expertise, but I'll tell you what.
It's a pretty big realm.
Yeah, true, especially when we're talking about fine cuisine. Hey, listen, just before we get to the game, this is the first time we've talked in a couple weeks on the show. I got to ask you I know you were paying close attention to it. You guys were playing, but you're still very dialed into the CFL and the Bombers. What do you make of the Bombers situation right now with this incredible run, but losing 3 straight Grey Cups in the fashion that they did?
Well, Ken Holland used to say about the NHL, general manager has done his job if the team gets to the Final Four. After that, who knows what happens, an injury. If Claros doesn't cut his finger in half, is the outcome the same? And they did self-destruct a little bit, which, to me, it's on the players. If I'm hiring a coach tomorrow, slate is blank. It is Mike O'Shea is my first choice, Mike O'Shea is my second choice, and Mike O'Shea is my third choice. It's as simple as that.
Oh yeah, this isn't a question about coaching at all. Although the coaching staff might change, Buck Pierce is up for potentially the BC job. Yeah. It's actually more a question. The more I get removed from the game, they put Zach back in. He had 6 completions up until that point in the game.
Yeah, I didn't know why they didn't run the ball early. To me, that was
they couldn't convert a second down. Like they were never on the field.
You got to invest. To me, I would have, like, Oliveira is the best player in the country, and you didn't use him. And maybe the offensive line isn't good enough. And Toronto has been there. You know, they've been their Achilles heel. So I was worried about that game, Arbuckle or not. And turns out it's like the curse of din whistle, right?
Yeah.
When Kevin Glenn got hurt, you know, all he had to do was not turn the ball over, and he couldn't do that. And now he's screwed them twice in the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup screw job ×2.
Yeah, it was. It's going to be a long off season. That being said, I do think that we're going to see a concerted effort. Not that wouldn't have been the case anyways, to get back with the Grey Cup game. We got to hopefully work on the schedule maker to get the Knights in Winnipeg on the Saturday before the Grey Cup, and then maybe you could hang around for the next day and come to the game with the fellas.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, but my luck, it'd be a back-to-back. They'd play Saturday in Winnipeg and Sunday in Mini, and I'd be like, so this year I watched the game. I watched the first half. We've got a TV in the room that I use underneath T-Mobile for my prep, and then I went up to the radio booth, and my good man Dan Duva already had the game locked on for me.
Nice.
It's the CFL. They, you used to be able to get all the games on ESPN Plus, and then they did this stupid deal with CBS Sports Network. You can't get, like, you have to use the CFL Plus app, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Like, if you're an American trying to watch the games in the U.S. now, or a Canadian trying to watch the games in the U.S., it's never been more. I shouldn't say it's never been more difficult, because I'm sure there were years where you couldn't do it at all. But it's very difficult today in a day and age where content is king. Randy Ambrosi gets a big flunk on that. What did he do? Tell me what he accomplished in his tenure as commissioner of the CFL.
Well, I'll say one thing he did. He navigated this league through a pandemic, and it still exists right now and seems to be coming back. I mean, that is no small feat, and they lost a season. The league was in peril. I mean, the other things on his list, I mean, to grow all these other revenue streams. I mean, I don't mind the concept.
Everybody navigated their business through the Grey Cup.
Well,
through COVID.
Not everybody. I mean, look at the other non-NFL football leagues in North America. Now, they don't have the history of the Canadian Football League, but
they don't care.
That's true. Anyways, Randy's done. Hey, listen, you're still Johnny Insider to an extent to CFL. Do you have any thoughts on who might be the next commissioner? Have you heard anything whispered in your ear?
I will tell you this, Hustler, and you will love this. I haven't spoken to him, so he might be irked with me. But if he wants the job, the CFL should make Ryan Hart the next commissioner of the Canadian Football League. He just did the President's Cup in Montreal. You were there. It was the best President's Cup
world class
ever. He is, they need, Keith Pelly worked at TSN, worked at Rogers Sportsnet, and then went and ran the European PGA
Tour, yeah.
Did a fantastic job over there, and now he's running Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Ryan Hart, the last thing they should do is hire a football guy, because they just don't work. They need to hire someone who understands content. They currently don't. Someone who understands marketing. They currently don't. And the other thing they need to do, Hustler, and this is more important than whoever they hire, they need to give the commissioner power. If you go back to when Gary Bettman, the NHL pre-Gary Bettman and the NHL post-Gary Bettman, they're completely different leagues. And Ed Snyder said, the owner of the Philadelphia Flyers at the time and one of the most powerful owners in the NHL, he said, yeah, when the owners ran the league, we were running it into the ground. We didn't know what we didn't know. We gave Bettman autonomy and power, and look what he's done with the league. The Winnipeg Jets are worth $1 billion US today. Think about that.
Listen, I love the suggestion of Ryan Hart. I mean, someone a little younger
Start
with
beating
great
that drum.
experience. Well, we know where it started right here today, Black Friday on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Great stuff. Well, let's get to hockey. How are things going for the Knights? I actually did catch a good portion of the game against the Avalanche, which was quite the game. Epic shootout as well. The team's had some ups and downs. Got a chance to see them. It sure looked good when I was in person in Vegas a few weeks ago. How's the team rolling coming into take on the Jets, who've had this great start to the season?
Well, they were that game you watched in Colorado. That was their 5th game in 8 nights, all on the road. So 5 games, 8 nights in 5 different cities. As the team arrived in Toronto, the day before they played the Leafs. They got to their beds in Ottawa at like 2 a.m, beat Ottawa in a back-to-back situation, got to Montreal at 2 a.m, got to Philadelphia at 2 a.m, and got to Colorado at 2 a.m. So a lot of late nights. I don't think they practiced once on that trip. I'm trying to remember if I went to a practice. I didn't. So they didn't practice once on that trip. And that eventually that has its toll. Colorado was better. Aiden Hill was just tremendous. And if you're filling out your slots for goaltenders for Team Canada, if you don't have Aiden Hill on the list, you're asleep at the switch. So, they'll be tired again today. We got home from Denver. We gained an hour, but it was still 2 a.m. before I got to my place. So yesterday they had it was a day off, but I don't expect they'll be. I don't expect them to be very fresh today. The Jets are in a very similar situation. Like, did they play Minnesota on the road?
Yeah,
is that a road game?
They're in the midst, and I've never heard of this before, of 15 games in different cities consecutively. They have 2 home games, just one-offs, split in between
Vegas
a lot.
Vegas is in that right now because they've gone. They played 2 on the road, 1 at home. 2 on the road, 1 at home, and then they just played 5 on the road, and then they've got now they've got 3 in a row at home, and then they go on the road again. But they played, I don't know, you do the math, 5, and they played 10 games in a row in different cities, and this will be 11. So very similar circumstances. The big question for me today. So Hellebuck played in Minnesota, played in LA. Now you've got this game, and then you're in Dallas on Sunday. You can't play him 4 times this week. You'd have to think that the Dallas game is more important because it's in division. Like, do you go with, does Comrie get this start? Like, that's the only, the one question I have about the Jets, and I had a couple questions about them. I don't love their blue line, but you can't argue with the record. Scott Arniel is doing a fantastic job. Hellebuck leads the league in everything, including minutes played. And when you're that far ahead of everyone, it would seem to me you might want to spot your capable backup in once in a while. But they're pretty content to go with all Hellebuck all the time.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, Comrie has been getting a few starts, and he's certainly due for one. I mean, he went in, he played last Saturday against Nashville, and now Helly's had the last 2 starts. I mean, sometimes you'll go 4 in a row. Does that mean that Comrie gets the start back in Winnipeg on Tuesday against St. Louis? I'm not sure. But Gary, why
would you play your goalie 4 times in 1 week in November when you basically have the division locked up already?
Wow. Whoa. I mean, listen, I know there's a lot of great stats of American Thanksgiving, but you got Minnesota, who's had a great start to the season. Dallas is no joke. Colorado's coming on. I think they realize that, if we've got Connor Hellebuck playing at this level and he wants to roll, it might give you the opportunity to rest him, I think, when it's going to matter more, and that's in March and that's in April before you get to the playoffs, and hopefully have him at his peak form making speaking of goalies right now.
I will just say one thing. Yeah. I'll just say one thing. You can add the Vezina and the Jennings and the Presidents all together. They don't equal Stanley.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess the point is that at some point he's going to be taking games off. Do you think taking games off in November are more beneficial, or later on in the year when you do have that cushion, hopefully?
Why wouldn't you balance it out?
Stop trying to curse our Vezina Trophy winning goaltender and try and get out of seeing number 37 in the net today.
You started it with your little Instagram. Someone still sends that to me every once in a while. The guy with the coveralls on and Lawless was the curse. You pointing at it.
Hey, I didn't start that. I mean, I did take the picture and play it. That was a very fun time down in Vegas.
You amplified it, Andrew.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Maybe I did amplify it, and you certainly weren't. You got your ring. Just going into this game, though, I mean, listen, it's been a good start. The team's obviously very good.
Two rings.
Okay, sorry, I'm just speaking about your National Hockey League time right now. Yes, you're right. Overall, though, I mean, we know you can't win the cup in the first 2 months of the season. Ask the Nashville Predators, though. You can really put yourself in a really bad spot. That's where they're at right now. Good start for Vegas. I mean, how's Coach Cassidy feeling about the team right now and where they're at in the landscape of that Pacific Division in the West?
Well, we had a ton of turnover, right? We lost the team lost seven guys in the offseason. So the fact that they are where they are right now, trying to still figure things out, he should be happy. The thing with him is unless he wins every game, he's not happy. Like that is, he makes no bones about it. He's like, I want to win every night. And he does. And he's got a knack of all the coaches and sports people I've been around, he has the best knack for winning games. He just finds a way sometimes, and it's like he'll change the lines or he's got a real good pulse and feel down on the bench for what's happening and what his team needs to do to win on that particular night. I think that, William Karlsson was hurt for a long time. That hurt. Mark Stone's been hurt for a while right now. That really hurts. The goalies did not hit the ground at top speed, but they found their games of late. Like Aiden Hill, his last five, he's got a .941 save percentage and a 171 goals against in his last 5 games. And they've kind of rotated those guys pretty much all year. They expect to be a playoff team and they expect Aiden Hill to be, he's the guy, he's their guy. Bruce Cassidy has said that. They'll want him fresh. So, I don't think they want Aiden Hill playing more than 55 games. So certainly not 65 or 68. Like that would be, to me, insanity. But I can't let it go, Huss.
Yeah, listen, I realize I wouldn't want to face Hellebuck today either. Who would?
Yeah.
Who would?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that'll work out.
It's November. So as much as the Golden Knights would want to win tonight, it's more about the war than the battle. I digress. I think Bruce Cassidy is trying to figure out what exactly he has, and Kelly McCrimmon is probably trying to figure out, what he's going to need. The team has cap flexibility that they haven't had in recent years. So, all in all, B+ right now, and trying to figure out how to become an A+.
Hey, listen, I do want to touch on the Four Nations coming up and as it relates to guys on both of these teams that we're going to be playing today. But you mentioned there has been some turnover, but there still is always a lot of Manitoba content. What's up with Mark Stone? I mean, do we know how long is he expected to be out? He's out of the lineup. One guy that's in that also has a new contract is Brett Howden, who signed for 5 years with the Knights. Maybe talk a little bit about him after Stone as to him committing to Vegas and the team committing to Brett.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Mark. They still list him as day-to-day. I don't think it's anything. It's a lower body injury. I don't think it's real serious. But the team's going pretty good, so they're not going to rush him back. They're going to want him to be right. It'll be interesting to see how Team Canada views that, because prior to getting hurt, his he was near the top of the league in scoring, and was, the combination of him, Eichel, and Barbashev had become one of the best lines in the NHL.
Well, to be honest, Gary, I mean, I think that if he hadn't had the injury issues the last couple of years, I think Mark Stone would have been a lock to be one of those 6 players that were named a few months ago for the tournament before we even got to this point.
Yeah, when they went to the Olympics a couple of years ago, his name was mentioned in that all the time as well. So I'd have him on the team. So that'll be interesting. On Brett Howden, you remember his career was drafted by Tampa. He went in the trade to the Rangers. JT Miller and Ryan McDonough went the other way, and the Tampa won a couple of cups, and the Rangers fan base kept looking at Nemesnikov was in that trade as well, but he got moved quickly as well. So the Rangers were always looking at Howden. How does this equal McDonough and Miller? And obviously it doesn't. But that wasn't his fault. He didn't make the trade, but they blamed him for it. And they kind of ran him out of New York. And Kelly McCrimmon got him for a 4th-round pick. And he said at the time, I'm betting on the person. And if you've met Brett Howden, you understand why someone would do that. He is one of the best guys in the NHL would confine it. He's just one of the best guys ever. He's a real good person, a happy person, big guy, can skate. 8 goals already this year, which is, he's closing in on his career high, and signed a real nice deal, 5 years at $2.5 million. So he's kind of a middle 6 guy here in Vegas, and he's only 27. Bruce Cassidy thinks he's got more to give offensively. He's an important player. He's out there late in games, kills penalties. A very useful player for that kind of money.
Yeah, listen, it's great to see, and it kind of reminds me, at first thought, seeing what he's doing for the team, I'm like, this is great value for the club. Guys do want to stay in Vegas. We know what the tax advantage is. It kind of reminds me of the Alex Tuch deal they did a few years ago with a real quality player at that point in his career, signing what seems to be a contract that gives him a little bit of security, but also keeps him there in Vegas. Listen, all of this action on the weekend is going to be done with the backdrop that on Wednesday we're going to find out about the foreign nations rosters. How big of a story has that been around the team? I mean, whether it's been a big story around the media, I'm interested in just, what you're gathering from players, how excited they are for it. And when you look at the roster, not just Canada and the U.S., how many Golden Knights do you expect to hear their names called on Wednesday?
Well, I think it'll be 7. I think 4 for Team Canada, 2 for Team USA, and 1 for Sweden. So I do know that the players, when the media isn't around, they want to talk about their list. I've got him on, and I think everybody wants to go. Mark Stone was really clear about it, said publicly, I'm really want to be on that team. So I think it'd be a mistake not to have him on it. I think he'll do things that no one else can do, and clutch guy, captain, Stanley Cup champion. Yeah, I'd have him on my team.
Well, I mean, listen, not to mention what he does against the opposition. I mean, Mark Stone is so far from a one-trick pony.
Oh, yeah.
With what he does, with the stick, defensively. When you're talking about it, I mean, we've had a lot of conversations here about Scheifele and Morrissey for Team Canada. Any thoughts? I mean, I would be stunned if Josh wasn't on the team, considering where he's at right now. But any thoughts on the Jet players, in particular 55 and 44?
I don't know if people really get what Scheifele is away from outside of Winnipeg. So this is what I would say about him. The last time he played for Canada in the World Championships, they had him. He was the 4th center when the tournament started. At the end of the tournament, he was their number 1 center. So, I'd have Scheifele on my team, and I'd have Morrissey on my team. And if I was the Jets, I'd want them on that team. They haven't had playoff success. This is an opportunity for them to go and play in high-pressure games. Think about Blake Wheeler. When he was named to Team USA, Dan Bylsma should never have got another job after the way he used Wheeler in that tournament. Just refused to play him. And then finally, when he did, Wheeler was the best player on the ice for Team USA. But Wheeler came back from that tournament with the confidence of Yeah, I just played with the best in the world, and I'm one of them. Matter of fact, I'm better than a lot of them, and was a monster for the next several seasons. You'll recall that was in November of that year. I wrote the column where I said the only crease Blake Wheeler has seen this season is the one in his pants, and that is when. That's when the Atlanta Association. That's when they locked me out. They wouldn't. Ladd, Wheeler, Enstrom, Bufflin, and Stewart. They all refused to.
It was right before your chat with Blake when we were on the road down in Anaheim.
That was years later. But that's when they stopped talking to me. They wouldn't talk to me for like a year and a half until Blake and I had it out on the loading dock in Anaheim.
It was my presence as a mediator. Just the aura of it all. Let's come together, guys.
You got out of the cab and saw Wheeler there, and you ran away. You're like a little scaredy cat. You didn't want to be anywhere near.
I didn't even know about this.
Yes, you did.
What? He hasn't talked to you in 2 years?
We couldn't get him on our show either. Couldn't get any of those guys on our show. Maybe they did the warm up, but they would not come on H&L. Anyways, and then he went on a tear and made Team USA, and he came back from Team USA. Yeah, so I take credit for all of Blake Wheeler's success with Team USA and with the Winnipeg Jets.
Hey, listen, last one on this, and it ties into the Knights, it ties into the Four Nations. You mentioned Aiden Hill. I'm with you. I mean, I can't imagine him not being on the team. I think Binnington is probably there as well. Who do you think the third is? Might it be Logan Thompson, his partner from last year, who's had a great start?
If I'm picking the three goalies, it's Binnington, Hill, and Thompson is my third. Yeah, for sure. He's earned it. He's played better than everybody else. So, or played better than most of them. But Binnington and Hill are the guys, and whoever's playing better at the start of the tournament goes in the net.
Dude, great to have you on the program. Always fun catching up. Hopefully we'll have a good one tonight, and we'll look forward to some more convos later on. But you're in fine form. You seem to be playoff ready right now, I will tell you that.
Consider it. My daughter's playing a game in Nashville, so I have her on the small screen.
How are they doing?
She's it's 1-0 for her team. So, but I don't know who scored. So I've got to hang up from you and text my better half who's there in Nashville at the rink.
Well, say hi to Jen and Lauren for me, and good luck to her today, and not good luck to your employer this afternoon or this evening. But always great chatting. Have a great one, pal.
Say hi to Remo for me.
All right, fun stuff with the Lawman. Looking forward to puck drop tonight, 7:30 p.m. Winnipeg time, and then of course the Jets go from Vegas to Dallas, 3:30 in the afternoon. That's Cowboys prime time. Cowboys played yesterday, so it'll be the Jets and Stars in Dallas on Sunday afternoon. Hacksaw's coming up right now. You know what he calls today? Beer Friday. And it's Black Friday and Beer Friday at Little Brown Jug. Get this out, gang. Little Brown Jug getting in on the Black Friday sale with the blowout for Black Friday of Winnipeg's favorite local beer, the iconic 1919. And get this, Little Brown Jug is discounted 1919 to just $19.19 for an 8-pack of Tall Boys, which is a $7.80 savings per 8-pack. It is on now through Saturday. So swing by the brewery at 336 William Avenue to pick up yours. Stock up for the holidays with the best price of the season. The Black Friday blowout at Little Brown Jug, 336 William Avenue, 1919 Tall Boy 8-packs for just $19.19. BP will be a fun place to go for the game tonight. I think there may be some wings and a pizza in my future. But when you're thinking Boston Pizza right now as we get into the holidays, get this deal, folks. When you buy a $50 BP gift card, you'll get a free $10 bonus card. And if you have a long gift list or need to buy for your company or office, check this out. If you purchase $1,000 in gift cards, you'll receive another 10% in gift cards, which ends up being a 30% bonus on gift cards of $1,000 or more. Of course, BP is a great place to have a holiday party. You can try your new menu in the dining room or have a casual party in the sports bar, or have the BP catering team set up and serve you at your office. And by the way, if you're at BP, check out a couple of the new holiday menu items, including the new spicy shrimp fettuccine and the rib and wing duo. And actually stick around. We'll have a BP gift card to give away on the program as well when we get into the marbles a little later on today. Boston Pizza tonight, though. Pick a player contest, your chance to win that great trip to Boston. Jets and Knights kick off at your local Boston Pizza, or drop the puck, I should say, 7:30 p.m. today. And while we're speaking of that, you can always win some great Royal Sports swag watching Jets games at Boston Pizza. Get to Royal Sports this weekend for their crazy Black Friday sales. So many amazing deals on sportswear, on shoes, on licensed team merchandise, and of course the hockey department's getting into it too with a massive sale on hockey sticks as well. Check out the Royal Sports Winnipeg Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for more details on everything that is getting blown out. Nobody does a sale like Royal Sports, and there's no sale like the Black Friday sale on through the weekend right now. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Again, more details on what you can find at blowout prices on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg. All right, let's welcome in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, and I'll hit Lee at the same time I hit the chat with our Why Not question today for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Lee, are you surprised that Matt Eberflus has been given a pink slip after what happened yesterday? But if so, why the heck did they make him do media this morning before firing him later on in the day?
I concur with the second question that you posed, and no, I was not surprised because as we'd put together, Andrew, the hot list of guys in jeopardy, yes, the guy in Dallas, Mike McCarthy, is probably top and center, and the guy in Jacksonville's right behind him. But I thought the Bears head coach was moving upwards. At the end of the day, when you're 14-32, and they've given the coach every player he ever wanted in free agency and now in the draft, and your quarterback does not make progress, you can't just go on and on and on. And his malfeasance, if you will, his game management over a whole group of things over the course of this 6-game losing streak, just to me meant the thing was out of control. So at the end of the day, I think you had to hit the eject button. And of course, he had fired his last 2 offensive coordinators. So he wasn't making good decisions as a head coach in terms of who he put on the staff. And they gave him the kid quarterback, and it was really rugged. And then Caleb Williams would play well in spurts and wouldn't play well in spurts. And the defense wasn't as good as they had been in the past. It just, nothing seemed to fit. So the Bears are going to have to go find somebody with offensive capabilities on his resume to hire and fast forward the progress of Caleb Williams. And I thought the clock management at the end of the game on Thanksgiving Day was just disgraceful. When you're moving down and the quarterback's hot and you scored 3 touchdowns in the second half and you're scaring the daylights out of a beaten up Detroit Lions team, and then you screw up with penalties and quarterback sacks and a misuse of the clock, and they don't give you bonus points to go to the locker room after the game with a timeout in your pocket. And then the explanation was absurd. So, yeah, they had to make a change.
You know, I sort of understood why they didn't immediately call a timeout, thinking that they would have plenty of time to run a play, and then they'd have the benefit of the timeout wherever they got it to call it and then bring in, because they did need to get 4 or 5 yards to get into field goal position after the sack, which sort of screwed everything up. And some of it has to be on Caleb Williams. I mean, I know he's a rookie, but listen, if you're a college quarterback, you have to be aware of the clock and time management. But when he got put on his keister there and it was going to take time to guys get back, that was the time for Eberflus with 32, 31, 30 seconds left to call the timeout. Even if they had ran a play and they didn't have the timeout and they were caught in bounds, they would have had the time to run the field goal kicker out and get the play off. But Caleb used up 25 seconds before going in and then went deep. It was a comedy of errors that you knew was going to end up with somebody paying the price. And for the first time in 100 years, the Bears make a mid-season change. I don't know if we need to spend too much time talking about the Giants or the Cowboys, to be honest. They're afterthoughts. But, man, The Miami Dolphins last night, Lee, I thought had a great opportunity to change the narrative of them playing in cold weather. And that game, I mean, you know, I was at the Miami-Kansas City game in January. That was the coldest event I've ever been to in my life. Nothing even comes close. That game last night was about 40 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it was in KC, and they looked just as out of sorts in the first half as they did before. What were your takeaways from Miami last night, and where does that leave them on life support, frankly, when it comes to a playoff spot?
I thought they were psyched out, and it wasn't that radically cold, and it wasn't blowing wind. I've been in my broadcast in Lambeau Field with the press box windows open when the wind was blowing. It really gets cold. It was not like that last night. They just seemed psyched out, and their defense missed so many tackles. And, you know, when you get into cold weather, it impacts your offense because they're a throwing team. But they got Mostert. Why did you not run him more in the first half and just keep at it and trying to pound it? And they did come out in the second half, and they ran them, and then obviously they started some passes down the field, but it was too little, too late. Yeah, there is a narrative there that they kind of wear around their neck that they don't play well in really cold weather. Somehow Mike McDaniel's going to have to figure that out. They got a lot of work to be done because now they're in a bit of a hole in the AFC, and there's still some pretty good teams in the hunt for first place or wild card spots in the AFC. Tua took a couple of wicked hits yesterday or last night. I thought, oh boy, is he going to get up from that? But he's fearless. I mean, if he has to move the pocket, if he has to run, he's going to run. And a couple of times he put his shoulder down instead of trying to get out of bounds. I said, oh, gee, don't do that. But they've got so much skill talent, but they're just not a complete football team right now. And this whole mental psyche thing about cold weather. So, yeah, Mike McDaniel's got a lot of work to do. Unless something catastrophic happens to somebody else in this AFC playoff race, they could be on the outside looking in right now with that record they have right now.
Yeah, we'll move on from the Thursday and Black Friday games, obviously going on right now with the Chiefs and Raiders, to this weekend. And holy smokes, do we have a beauty, Lee, in the late afternoon slate. The Ravens and the Eagles going at it. And if you would have told me these two teams were playing at this point, I would have thought that maybe the records were reversed. But Philly, as much as I hate to admit it, has really gotten it together after kind of that ugly 2-2 start. And meanwhile, the Ravens have looked as good as any team in the National Football League at times, but have had some real hiccups. A huge game for Baltimore and a big game for Philly, knowing that they still can stay just one game back of the Lions if they can keep pace.
It's a bigger game for Philadelphia because the world now has knowledge that Detroit's in big trouble defensively with all these injuries. Detroit's got 6 guys out now with real significant injuries, aside from the loss of Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport. So the Lions, at least on the defensive side of the football, are in trouble. Philadelphia is really cooking. Obviously the quarterback, that running back, those 2 wide receivers, the tight end, that's a tremendous offense that the Eagles have. But you add into the equation their kid defense, and they've drafted a lot of young guys on defense the last 3 years, and they're all playing now. And they've gotten progressively better and better. Everybody talks about Barkley and Hurts and the statistics and what they're doing offensively. Nobody's paying attention to the fact Philadelphia has given up 274 yards per game. In this modern day and age of everybody going down the field, big pass plays and all that, 274 yards per game. So Eagles are playing well. Baltimore, I mean, the record says 8-4. It kind of looks like a mystery. How can that be when you got Lamar Jackson and you got Derrick Henry and then you got wide receivers and you got 3 tight ends they throw to? Their defense is young, and now their defense is hurt with Roquan Smith out. They're giving up yards. They take a lot of penalties on defense. That's how they got 4 losses. There have been some Sundays where their defense has collapsed. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. No, I'm not going to say this replaces the Super Bowl, but hell, I would have thought coming into this weekend, maybe these are the 2 of the teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl. It is going to be an offensive show for certain. I'll be fascinated, though, to see what Philadelphia's defense devises to try to slow Lamar Jackson down, at the same time commit people. They got a bunch of big boys up front, commit people to slow down that running back, Derrick Henry. So, no, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, no, it certainly should. Now, this Sunday nighter, I mean, there's a couple other huge games. The Charger-Falcon game is really fascinating, and what a tough spot for the Chargers to be in. Like, it's the straight-up Widowmaker spot. You're coming off a tough Monday nighter, playing a team coming off of a bye, yet there's still a short favorite against the Atlanta Falcons. You got Arizona and the Vikings, must-win game for the Rams. And then this Sunday nighter, Lee, with potentially 2 feet of snow in Buffalo as this storm brews, the old lake effect snow in Buffalo, for a Niner team that is on life support going up against a Buffalo team that is absolutely rolling right now. What do you make of the other top games on the slate?
Well, you threw a lot of stuff at me here. First of all, Bill Fenn doesn't care. Just pass me the next Genesee beer. It's going to be something. The weather's going to be brutal. And I don't know at this point whether or not Brock Purdy's going to be able to play. And if he can't go, even though McCaffrey's back, they're just not the same team. They got so many problems on the offensive line of scrimmage because of injuries. I think San Francisco's season's about to fall into a snowdrift, never to be seen again. The Chargers were rolling and the world was screaming, they got the number one defense on the field. And I kept saying, wait till you play a quarterback and then you have to prove to me how good you are. And what happened is Joe Burrows threw for 426 and nearly beat him 2 weeks ago. And then Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry beat the hell out of him last Sunday at home. The last 3 quarters, Chargers had 1 field goal in 7 possessions before they scored at the end of the game. And Baltimore scored in 5 straight possessions. So the Chargers are in big trouble. And now they're getting on the plane and they're going to Atlanta, beat up, short work week, and without 4 starters on defense. They're really hurting. They had a whole bunch of guys miss practice again today, and they're on the DNP, probably won't play on Sunday. And they're going into Atlanta to meet Kirk Cousins, who's spraying the ball all over the yard. But Atlanta doesn't play a lick of defense. So this might be Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins. Both guys throw for 300-plus yards, and maybe last guy touches the ball wins it. But the Chargers could be in a bit of a tailspin there. You got Arizona, Minnesota. Sam Darnold is cooking at home. Kyler Murray, they got beat. They're 6-5. They're trying to claw their way back into a wild card playoff spot. Although I will say Arizona's defense is a lot better than everybody's paying attention to. But Kevin O'Connell has the Vikings playing great football at home. So yeah, there's some huge games this weekend in the NFL. Not to the equality of what we're talking about, the Ravens and the Eagles, but there's some teams that desperately need to post victories this weekend to kind of stop the skid or stay in the hunt.
I know you'll be talking about that more on your show following ours, and we'll send over the crew after the marble race to join you with the WST raid. One other thing, speaking of the Vikings, Danny Dimes, cut by the Giants, signs to the Vikings practice roster. I actually think this is a great spot for him. I think, in a spot, a player like him, he's seen what's happened with Sam Darnold working with Kevin O'Connell. I think there's a real attraction for Dan to get back on. But what did you make of that, Lee? And do you think that he could be an option for them at some point if Darnold gets hurt, considering their other backup is Nick Mullins?
Well, you got 5 weeks left in the season. So, yeah, it's an insurance policy acquisition. He's a smart dude. He's from Duke, so he can digest chunks of what Kevin O'Connell is doing offensively. I think the bigger piece of the equation is he wanted to go to a situation with a team that's going to win that might need him rather than go to a team that has no quarterback at all, like the Raiders, get his brains beat in. He's going to be a free agent. Now, here's the intriguing angle to this whole thing. We did not mention the third quarterback that's in Minnesota, and that's J.J. McCarthy, the number 1 pick, who's recovering from these multiple meniscus surgeries and the stem cell injections and all that. Keep in mind, Darnold is a 1-year free agent. Darnold might be wrapping up his career wearing purple in the next couple of weeks because maybe they keep Daniel Jones going forward, or maybe Darnold and McCarthy will compete for the job, or maybe it will be Jones and McCarthy. So it's going to be fascinating to see once they get to the finish line of the offseason whether Daniel Jones has a chance to play there, what their theory is with Darnold, because Darnold's probably going to be the comeback player of the year, puts himself back on somebody's free agent list. And then where does Daniel Jones fit if it's not in Minnesota? Does he go somewhere else? So it's kind of fascinating, the decision that Daniel Jones made. But can you imagine being a New York Giant fan right now? You saw the embarrassment on Thanksgiving night, how bad Giant football is, and you're taking this massive cap hit the rest of the season and a big cap hit next year because you made a mistake on Daniel Jones' contract. And by the way, Saquon Barkley walked across the bridge. Look what he's doing with the Eagles. Can you imagine being a New York Football Giants fan? Suicide watch. I mean, it's really, really bad down there right now to be a Blue fan. And, of course, across the bridge, you got the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers and coaching changes and a roster that doesn't fit. New York football's in a bad state of affairs. I guess the big question is, when does spring training in baseball start in New York?
Yeah, you think about those two markets, New York with the two of the most disappointing teams in the league, and then, I mean, I guess the Cowboys at least match Jake Paul for their number of wins in Cowboy Stadium in 2024 with their win yesterday. Of course, folks, you know where to go to get all your information on a daily basis, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. But stick around right after the marble race. We'll send everyone over to Hacksaw. Hacksaw, what's coming up on your YouTube program following ours?
Well, across the border, we're also talking an awful lot of baseball. What happened at Dodger Stadium and the signing in the middle of the night of Blake Snell, and what's the next domino to fall, and we got Juan Soto and all that. Yeah, I know, show me the money, and that's what it's all about. But it's fascinating. Juan Soto is going to sign, we think, within this next couple of days before the winter meetings actually start. Next weekend, December the 8th. So that'll be fun to watch. Yeah, we have obviously all things NFL. And we're talking baseball. We talk basketball. We talk hockey. We do stuff on golf. We do things on auto racing. And we kind of cover the panorama of the world of sports. So when you're done with Hustler, check us out on the YouTube channel, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Subscribe so you'll get the alerts every time we put something up, because we do that a lot. Plus, my website is all written every day of the week. It's there first thing in the morning.
Lee, we'll look forward to seeing you in 10 or 15 minutes when we've wrapped up here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. The O Canada crew, as you call them, will be coming in hot. Have a great one, pal. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. See you next Beer Friday.
You got it. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Again, the channel's LeeHacksawHamilton.com. And we will be going there right after we do the marbles, which is open right now. And again, with this Chiefs game on, I do not want to belabor the marble race today. So here's your last call. Get them in now. We're going to do the Coolbet lines and then get right over to the marbles. So last call for marbles, everybody, as we go and look at what's happening. Now, I won't go through all the NFL lines. I will tell you that we cooked up a pretty nice partner parlay in the lock shop today. We've got a nice house callers parlay as well. You can see the lock shop partner parlay there. We've teased the Vikings down from 3.5 to 2.5, and Vikings have been having some 3-point wins, so I think I feel good about that. We've got the Titans at plus 6.5, and we've got the Atlanta Falcons taking advantage of this really tough spot for the Chargers coming out of the Monday Nighter. At plus 1.5 for Atlanta. That one's boosted to a plus 543. So get on that one. We've also got our house callers parlay, which is Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, James Cook is the other guy that has come in on it. And we've also got Nico Collins from the Texans. So a big number on that one. The house callers is up there as well. But let's take a look at the NHL, because we've got a very, very busy day today. Right now, there's a ton of games that have just finished the first period. You can get on some live betting if you want. Hurricanes down at home, 3-1 to the Panthers after one. The Blue Jackets up 2-0 on Calgary after two. Jersey and the Red Wings tied 2-2 right now. The Preds up 1-0 on Tampa. Tampa plus 235 to win, just down one. Islanders and Tampa, Ducks, Kings, Kraken, Sharks, all tied. But remaining tonight at 5:30, Boston is a minus 172 home favorite against the Penguins. The Jets, this is funny, Remis, you're surprised that the Jets are actually favored in this game tonight against the Golden Knights. Jets minus 115, Vegas minus 102. Well, exactly. I mean, a lot of Winnipeggers use the site, so I'm not sure whether that's everywhere. But anyways, Jets minus 115. I figured they'd be plus money today, to be honest. Vegas minus 102. Colorado, Dallas later on. Excuse me. Dallas is minus 130. Avalanche plus 110. And then the Oilers are minus 154 favorites and the Utah Hockey Club is plus 130. If you do go to the exclusives, we've got a lot going on today, but we do have a WST parlay for today's game. Kyle Connor to score, Josh Morrissey with the point, and the Jets to win, plus 450 right now in the Coolbet exclusives. So much else going on. All the NFL games on the weekend. You've got big UFC as always with that great bet and get $25 promo. So check out Coolbet if you haven't before. And use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And by the way, there is one other thing we should mention. Northern Star Award goes off next week. Top Canadian athlete. No surprise. Summer McIntosh, massive favorite, minus 33. So not a lot of betting value there, Remis, but I think everyone assumes that the star of the Summer Olympics will be getting that award this year.
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, what a great 2 weeks that was, especially during the summer when there's not really a ton of stuff. We had a great time watching the Olympics. She won medals, gold medals. It was awesome to watch. So it's usually us, like every 4 years you do kind of give it, and it's kind of nice. I mean, yeah, we could just give it to McDavid, who, took the Oilers to the Stanley Cup final, but I'm all for summer. I like it. What about Ethan Katzberg, though? Man, hammer throw. Plus 2,000? I guess because that was one event, right? So
yeah, one event as opposed to, and that's the thing. Swimmers, we've talked about this before. I wasn't really thinking that Penny should have won it when she did, but the Olympics takes precedent over everything else. And in swimming, these great athletes have opportunities for so many more medals than all the other sports. Sometimes it's almost a fait accompli. And listen, with what Summer did with her historic record-breaking performances, I don't think there's any doubt that it's going to be her. All right, let's get to some marbles today. Where are we going? Have we figured this out?
Can everyone in chat hear me? I think they can hear me now. I had to unplug and replug in, so I can't handle when one person says muted and every other person does. I got to stop looking at the chat because I can't work.
Sound good to me
like that.
You sound good to me.
Yeah, I think everyone can hear me now. I did go through the tracks. I'm not sure if we did this one or not. I wrote it down. Second marble-tastic activity by our favorite marble creator, Dylan. This was a good one.
The king of the marble creation. All right, well, listen, before we bring up the track, let's bring up a little Tristan Rivers music to officially start the festivities here on WST.
Yes, I'm going through the things. Here, I'll pick. Which one should I pick? This one's good.
It's Friday. Another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself. Maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. On the whole day, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give blind luck a try. It's time to do a marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race. Just like marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spare or you will suffer all next pay. Get to your mark before it's too late. Set go.
Yes, that is one of your favorites. That's actually that is a fun one.
I'm sitting here going like this with my phone, with the light on, back and forth by myself here, right? That's what you do now, right?
For sure. There's no more lighters. No more lighters at concerts. It's all your camera phone. Or if you're lucky enough to go to a Taylor Swift concert, some sort of bracelet that is programmed to follow along with all of the production. It seems like amazing. Sarah told us about that earlier this week.
Yes, that was cool.
All right, how many marbles today?
We have. Let me pull it up. Man, I was drinking coffee while you were on with Lee, and I had to cough while I had the coffee in my mouth. Almost ended up really bad.
Did you spit it out all over the
No,
computer?
I just like finished it and started coughing. Like my wife texted me, she's like, "Are you okay down there? What's going on?" That was wild. Okay, 218 marbles. I'm still recovering from that, Huss. It was like Dave McCarthy on yesterday's show when he had to stop the interview.
Yeah, that's right. Kate, throw me in if you would, all caps. And we also need a marble, and this is a nice little segue to what I was going to say, a marble for Dominic Toninato, the new captain of the Manitoba Moose. And while we put in Dominic Toninato, if you're with us on YouTube, check the link at the top of the chat. We have some tickets we're giving away for the Moose game tomorrow. So get in on that before the end of the show. If you're listening after the fact, you still might have time to get in over at winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. Moose playing tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll get a chance to see the C on Dominic Toninato's jersey. He joined us earlier this week when he was named captain of the Moose.
Yeah, that's
great choice, by the way, by the club.
Great choice. Nice to hear Dom saying, hey, Winnipeg's his home. He wants to retire here. He's got a young family as well. I follow him on Instagram, so I think his kids are similar ages to mine, so can kind of relate to him in that way. So I'm a big fan of Dom Toninato. He's played NHL.
Basically the same.
We've got a lot in common. Yeah, exactly. So congratulations to him. That's pretty cool. I mean, you're going down the list of captains in Moose history, going back 25 years of Moose hockey. Some big names, and Mike Keane here to give him the jersey with the C. How cool is that?
Really cool. I mean, Mike Keane, Randy Gillen, Scott Arniel, Nolan Baumgartner, a real who's who of the of Moose
Scott
history.
Arniel. Crazy how many are like still working for the organization.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen,
Jimmy Roy,
good people. Yeah, I don't think Jimmy was ever the captain though.
Sure, but I mean, he's Moose legend.
He's Mr.
Jimmy
Moose.
Roy.
Oh, listen, absolutely.
That's kind of funny. Never captain, but he's like Mr. Moose, as you called it.
For sure, he had a lot of A's on his jersey. Brian Chapman was another great captain in Moose history. And listen, we wish the Moose luck this weekend, and in particular Dominic Toninato. So Tony gets a marble today, maybe his first marble in WST history. And as I mentioned, we've got the hoodie for our winner today, and special second place prize today. We've got a gift card from our friends at Boston Pizza to pop by and try their awesome new holiday menu. And don't forget the bonus right now on gift cards for BP. Buy a $50 gift card, get a $10 gift card for free. And if you do need a big buy, for instance, for an office or a long list, if you buy $1,000 in gift cards, you'll get an extra 10%. So by my calculations, that 30% equals $300 in gift cards when you're purchasing $1,000 for the Christmas list. All right, let's do this. I'm excited to see this track.
Yes, this is a second Marble-tastic activity. Let me get it all sorted out. So I'm pretty pumped for that one, Huss. Got 220 marbles after I put in you and Dominic Toninato. Let me just put it in. Second Marble-tastic activity. Here, let's do this.
All right.
One sec.
Getting our marbles up here and getting ready to go.
Yeah, I know we want to watch the Chiefs game.
Yeah, I've got it paused right now, and I'm trying not to look at the chat so no one will spoil it for me. So I'm locked in exclusively on the marble race right now. And look at this. Adding the names, get a chance to see the magic of the maestro of marbles, Michael Remis, doing his thing. And second Marble-tastic activity, Dylan 70, the GOAT. And these are all new. He made this one on Halloween.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can see the date there, 10/31 of 2024. So good luck to everybody. It's been a very fun week here on WST. And hopefully we can get this week started off with a nice Chiefs win and a big Jets win tonight in Vegas. Again, Jets in Dallas. Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. We'll recap the entire weekend with a big Monday show and then actually get a chance to see a Jet game back at home when the team returns for the first time in 2 weeks, Tuesday night against Jim Montgomery and his new team, the St. Louis Blues. All right, 2:20 in the hopper. Let's drop them and get this marble race on WST.
Everyone writing in chat that Mahomes just got injured because he can't watch.
Come on.
Oh, Mahomes and Kelsey out for the year?
Yeah. I don't trust any of you. Wild track. I like these. Look at Mike Wynn scooting through into the bottom. Now, where did Velveeta go? Is Velveeta? No, Velveeta, I think, is done. Yeah,
those guys
going
are done.
Into the ether. Now, Mike Wynn's on the bottom track. So is Toronto Sports Network. I'm not sure whether they're going to get there in advance or... Oh, it looks like they're going from the ball into there. So here we go. So looks like Toronto Sports Network is in first place. Now everyone else is coming in. Big Daddy Brent and Paul Carr just got top roped. And by my count, I think TH Power is in first right now. But again, it says Millennial Lady is in first right now, but I think it's because of the angle of this race. Exactly. Here we go. TH Power. Oh, the Gitch just got drifted into the ether. That is tough. Who's that? Shane?
Yeah.
Shane Armidance looks like they're in first place right now. So here comes Shane. Oh, this is a tough one. Shane just got top roped as well. We are looking. Waiters into the ether. Not happening for eaters today. All right. Todd. Is that Todd TM?
Todd 18.
Oh, Todd 18. Oh, T. Konopoli, I think, just got whacked. Tough day for Paulie. Todd 18 in the mix. Jet Oil Tom. Tyson Ducharme. Going into this big, looks like a snowy funnel. Waiting to see who is going to make it first down out of it. All right, we do have a few here. A big one. Now coming out of the booth, Corey O and Corey H. Corey on Corey here. Marshall Caron in the mix right now. Everyone jumping up. Marshall's first in. Who else is going to join him? There's Rick Fair, boring Sean Monahan. Who's going to get first out of this big sphere? Is it going to be Corey H? No, it's Elias McCracken, followed by Rick Fair, Corey H in third. It's like Darren Feezy's in there, Corey H. There's Ray. Rick Fair right now. Who's coming out for? Okay, Corey H has retaken the lead, and now Corey's into this cylinder, popping down. Another signature Dylan 70 track, and Corey H, I believe for the first time ever, is the winner. All right, great stuff. Okay, here we go. Corey H in first. Uncle Dizzo, number 2. Darren Ramsey, 3. Rick Fair, 4. Elias McCracken in 5th. Winnipeg Chaster, number 6. Larry, nice work, Larry. We'll start your weekend off well with the top 10 performance. Larry was in 7th. Number 8 is Ray. Number 9, Steiner 25. And number 10, Holy Smoly. There's your top 10. We'll let the other marbles come down, and then we'll go through the winning marbles. One thing I will say, Corey H., send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com, and let us know what size you are for a hoodie, and I'll fire you an email. We can get that set up to pick up. And Uncle Dizzo with our BP gift card. Dizzo, if you could, you send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Give us your name, your actual name, not just Uncle Dizzo, and your phone number and email. And also, I believe this is probably going to be a pickup at BP. So let me know what your preferred Boston pizza will be. And then I'll send it over, and they'll contact you and confirm that it's ready to pick up. But nice work for Uncle Dizzo. Running through, we're now down to the 50s. Michael Preeden, there's Corey O. Leslie Mishnuk. Jedwell Tom was not bad. There's Ross, he's 73rd. There's Mary Jane. Natalie from Winnipeg. Great to meet Nat at our last Winnipeg Sports Talk game. There's Duck Dad and the Herbster. The Keezer, Kelly Menard. Cowboy. Great performance by Cowboy. Oh, I did finish 117th. Amanda, I beat you by 6 today. Red River Rebel. There's Mike Wynn. Pretty and Pionk. Bozeman. I don't see Bozeman yet. Maybe Bozeman went over the top rope. We'll have to see. Yes, Bozeman did. So in our head-to-head battle all year, I've got one. There's Gregory and everybody else that ended up on the outside looking in. Remis, what's up for the weekend for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have any plans. Taking the kids to their activities. I don't know, scrolling for some Black Friday shopping. Got to check out Royal House. They got all
the Royal sale is insane.
The hat racks, jerseys, maybe get some hockey equipment as well. The half price hydro flask? Yeah, the hydro flask half price. I'm a big hydro flask guy. See, I got mine here.
Big water bottle guy.
Of course, you need one. It keeps it cool. I'm not drinking warm water. I'm
using the metal koozie today. And for anyone that thought that I was crushing beers, this is my usual Diet Pepsi, just to confirm. I know there's a football game this afternoon. It's Beer Friday, but none yet. All business here on WST today. But a great show. Lots of fun. That was a great. That was a good
track.
One of the most fun. It was a great track. I was going to say the conversation with Gary was
all time.
I got a lot of comments. That was some vintage H&L stuff.
Gary brought the boom today, and I enjoyed hearing. Yeah, that was 5 booms for Gary's appearance, bringing up the Ryan Hart as commissioner. You know, that was a name that anyone could come out and say Mike Morreale. He's going to be the commissioner. He's CBL former, but he's like, we need a guy who has nothing to do with football, but he still knows about CFL. Not like Jeffrey Orridge, who didn't know how many downs were on. But Ryan Hart did he's from Winnipeg, did the Players Cup, did the one in Montreal this year.
Sharp as attack, man. Sharp as attack. And as I say, I went to the event. I mean, I talked to Ryan for the last couple of years as he built up for a world-class, the biggest event Canadian golf has ever seen. And they hit it absolutely out of the park with some pretty significant challenges in Montreal. So I love that idea. Young, ambitious, incredible working with sponsors in the community. That was one very, very clear thing that we saw there. I love the suggestion. Mm-hmm. I'll have to text him afterwards and see if he got any messages after Gary dropped that on the program today. That would be cool. That would be a feather in our cap if this is the first time he was mentioned and there's a little smoke to that. You never know. Gary's a very connected guy. I mean, not often will he just throw things out of the ether. Maybe there's more to it. I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll have to see. Yeah, maybe Gary knows, but I loved his appearance, getting his take on the Golden Knights, and Gary referencing that he's a multi-sport champion with his Grey Cup ring and Stanley Cup ring. Some debate in the chat if those are legitimate championships. I think they are.
Hey, listen, I know someone was asking Sarah. That's the beauty. I mean, you put so much in working for a team. If you win a championship. Now, listen, they're not going to get the Death Star-sized rings that the players get nowadays. But I guarantee you, if your team wins the championship and you're a full-time employee on the payroll, you'll be getting a souvenir of a lifetime. And wouldn't that be nice for Sarah and everyone down at TNSC to be getting one this year? I know we'd all co-sign on that. Great stuff. Listen, we're going to get you over to Hacksaw. So hang around. Go in, pop by, leave a comment in there. Say you enjoyed Hacksaw's visit with us so much on WST, you had to pop in on his program. So we'll send you there over for a raid. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. Don't forget, Sunday morning, WST Sunday Live with Connor Liss and Jacob Stoller. And they'll, of course, be talking about tonight's game and getting ready for Sunday afternoon against the Dallas Stars. The latest on Mark Scheifele and the Jets' continuing road trip. And then Monday morning, Connor continuing to kill it with the WST Recon Review. That'll be ready for you in time for your drive to work on Monday morning. And we'll be back here to wrap the entire weekend and the road trip for the Jets on Monday at 1. And then, of course, getting ready for a big game on Tuesday in the division against the St. Louis Blues. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to Gary Lawless, Mike McIntyre, and Hacksaw. And thanks to you for another great week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Enjoy the game tonight. Have a great weekend. Get on those Black Friday sales from all of our sponsors. And we'll see you Monday, 1 p.m. right here on YouTube. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.